You probably know someone that has a very healthy lifestyle, that eats well, exercises, and all the rest. And yet they struggle with some chronic symptoms, let's say stomachache or skin issues or headaches or whatever is the case. And maybe you also know someone that has a very unhealthy lifestyle and they would like to have a healthier lifestyle and implement healthy habits, and they tried many times, and they can explain you in greatest detail what they should do to improve their lifestyle. They know all the steps, and yet somehow they are unable to act upon them. They will always fall back to the old habits. So what is going on? Why do some people follow a really healthy lifestyle and yet they are unable to generate a change? And on the other side, why some people know exactly what they should do to improve their lifestyle and they are really trying, and it seems to be impossible for them to generate a change? So in this video, we will be answering these questions and a few more by meeting 5 different people and see what is their problem and especially what lurks underneath the surface, what cannot be seen at the first glance, that will help us and help them especially get unstuck and stop running in circles. So let's meet Carol, Linda, and Nancy. All 3 of them have the same symptoms: mild fatigue, headaches, some digestive issues. Occasionally they will be overeating and have some weight fluctuations. Over the past few years, of course, they have tried many different things. They also did all the exams, all the lab tests were okay. There was nothing there as a diagnosis. They were basically healthy according to all the examinations. So they were told that it's stress related, which in that moment actually make them even more stressed, simply because they are already having a pretty healthy lifestyle and they are regularly having stress management habits and techniques. Like Carol practices mindfulness, Nancy likes to go cycle and listens to a lot of music that really helps her unwind. Linda goes to the gym regularly, etc. So they really are paying attention to trying to decompress on a regular basis. They are also, because they don't want to take painkillers in the long term, so they are taking as well a really good range of supplements, cycles of probiotics. They are on them a couple of months and then they have a pause, and generally they are taking care of themselves with different good quality supplements. And yet they are still stuck in these circles for the past 3-4 years. They never are able to really solve the problems, just palliate or make it a bit more bearable. So what is going on? Let's meet Carol. Carol has always been very responsible and demands a lot from herself. It's very hard for her to say no to people, so will really happily help even though she is really tired, and some afternoons, especially from 3 to 5, she's barely hanging on. She has a big troubles into expressing her feelings. She just doesn't want to disturb others and bother them with her problems. She generally hides her true feelings because she's afraid to be judged and to not meet expectations. Since she has always like a whisper inside her ear telling her that she's not good enough, that she could do more, she could do better, and she has this very critical self-talk going on. And she cannot even remember when it started. It seems always in her head, as she says. She will have occasional headaches with pressure in her temples, and her stomach never feels quite right. So now let's see how a homeopath, to be precise, a classical unisystic homeopath, will help Carol to solve her problems and decode what is going on by really zooming in and looking closer what is the root cause or generative principle that is causing all these issues. Before we move on, I would really like to stress that in this video we are painting a picture with very broad strokes. It means in all the cases and the approach to the cases that we will be presenting to all these 5 lovely people are presented with not enough nuance, not enough detail, not enough technical explanations, simply because this video will be 3 hours long. And we just want to present the general logic of homeopathy. Okay, so the first thing that the homeopath does is to organize the case. So if we have seen how it's her energy, since she suffers from regular fatigue, but she stresses that it's really severe, especially from 3 to 5. Then she describes in detail all the physical symptoms. Of course, we will not go much in detail here, but basically her headache is in the temples as a pressure. She will have digestive issues, especially after breakfast and lunch, will feel bloated and have some heaviness and discomfort. In some periods, she will tend to overeat, and she's extremely fond of chocolate. And of course, there are many more details, right? Which are very important for a homeopath that we will explain why at the end of this video. And then we have the emotional level, as we have been describing her general attitude towards life and what she's struggling with, and her mental level. So what do you think is the root cause? What is generating to her all these troubles for the past few years? Let's see what's the root cause. Of course, we would be using a very thorough homeopathic analytical process to come to this answer. And in her case, the root cause is feeling not good enough. Let's look a little bit closer how things go as a domino effect. So she's feeling not good enough, and she has a really harsh inner voice that it's very critical of herself and constantly pushing this pressure and generating tension in her system. And because she feels not good enough, she needs to do something for others, right? To be good enough. So she tends to people please and suppress her own emotions and her needs to please others. And this, of course, generates a lot of emotional and physical strain as well. As we have seen in the previous video, suppressing your emotions and have negative self-talk generates inflammation, and it's associated with a lot of chronic diseases. So therefore, physical symptoms start to manifest. And in her case, she just uses different coping mechanisms. So temporarily she will feel slightly better, which of course don't generate lasting results. And so she's spinning in this circle. In her case, of course, the homeopathic remedy has to account for the whole situation she's going through, but definitely has to zoom in on the root cause. So has to address the feeling of not being good enough and the suppression of emotion. And once these 2 things are addressed, then the other things, the stomach aches, the fatigue, feeling tired, the headaches, the overeating, will resolve as a consequence, because there is not anymore that factor internally that generates all that tension and creates these other problems as a consequence. Let's meet Linda. Linda has always been quite bold and really does speak her mind, though it can be overbearing sometimes, and especially when you disagree with her, she tends to become irritable and really wants, especially with the people close to her, to have her way. But what she really struggles with is intimate relationships, when somebody gets too close. Where people need more time, more commitment, she will basically freak out. She will start to find excuses and faults to make the distance. And she will say, oh no, it's not a big deal, I'm totally fine like this. But actually, she's just afraid. She's really afraid to be seen for who she really is. But this insecurity, this fear, of course, it's not present just in her psychologically and emotionally. Actually, this tension is stored in her body. She tends to have headaches, especially like a congestion in the forehead. She will feel bloated, particularly on the left side of her abdomen, and feel some discomfort, especially after dinner and lunch. And she will wake up super unrefreshed. She says, I'm more tired when I went to sleep, and it takes her an hour or two to get going. So this tension, it's accumulated in the body. And let's see how the homeopath will break down this case. As I have already mentioned, we are painting a very rough picture with broad strokes. So we will not go into much detail, but energetically we see her fatigue. It's especially in the mornings and 4 to 8 p.m. And the physical symptoms, she gives us a lot of details. How is she doing emotionally and mentally? We have already roughly covered. So let's go directly to the root cause. What do you think is the root cause? We already touched upon when we met Linda in her description. So you see, even if Linda tries to convince herself that she's okay by making distance and not be able to connect with people, her body is clearly telling her that it's not okay. It's just a coping mechanism that she uses because she struggles with intimacy. So in her case, the root cause is deep insecurity, and she compensates it by exaggerating confidence and being very sure in her opinions and struggling to accept different views. The same logic applies to Linda, as we have seen with Carol. This inner tension in her specific condition on the emotional level ripples down through different levels and creates this imbalance that manifests as physical symptoms. It's like a domino or rippling effect. Okay, let's see what is going on with Nancy that also have, remember, all three of them have the same symptoms, right? So let's see what's going on with Nancy. Nancy has always been a bit reserved. She always preferred the quiet moments over the crowds, but she was never really truly alone. Basically, she had her group of friends, that they have some meaningful conversations, and she did have a sense of belonging. That all changed about 3 years ago after her divorce. It was a really tough time for her. She started to doubt in people, and overall she gradually started to withdraw. Not all at once, by bit by bit. And since all those years, there is a constant sense of grief in the background. It's not overwhelming, it's just like a quiet hum in the background. And she doesn't talk about it and convinces herself that it's totally fine, that she's okay. But yet, we can see that her body thinks otherwise. In the mornings, especially around 10 o'clock, she will feel a strange sensation in her stomach, like a fullness, and she will have very low energy and really struggle to find the motivation to start the day and get going. Also, she will have headaches pretty regularly, and it feels like her hand is expanding. It's extremely uncomfortable. And she will pretty consistently crave salty stuff. On top of the list, of course, it's chips. She isolates herself, avoids connection because she's really afraid to be hurt again. So let's see the homeopathic analysis. Again, very broad strokes, very rough. So we see in Lisa's case, her lowest energy is 10 in the morning. Her physical symptoms are also really different from the other two ladies, right? Her headaches express in a completely different way. And we have seen that emotionally and mentally, even though She feels calm and nothing is really going on, and she has a very cozy, normal lifestyle. Actually, a lot is going on beneath the surface. She is doing really unwell emotionally. So, what is the root cause? In her case, the root cause is grief due to the divorce. And she has this buried inside sadness without any expression, and she copes by isolating herself. So this deep feeling of grief definitely also affects her biology. So let's summarize and see all the three root causes of the three beautiful ladies together. As we have seen at the beginning, all of them had the same symptoms, right? Wrong. As we have seen, actually, after we look beneath the surface, there is a lot more going on. Not just their emotional, mental, psychological struggles, but even physically, and even their fatigue manifests in them in a very unique manner. Which actually, if you can read all these details of the types of pains, where they appear, why Linda has pain on the left side of the abdomen, why not on the right? All these details about how the pain is manifested in each of them actually carry a lot of information if we know how to read it. So let's go back to the root causes. We have seen Carol's root cause, it's actually on the mental level. It's about how she perceives herself, which in her case, it's an inborn tendency that it's intergenerational. So it's inherited, which we can do a future video because it's a very wide topic in itself. So Linda's root cause, it's on the emotional level. It's lack of emotional maturity due to a life challenge. It's a period in her life where she struggles because she wants to create intimate relationships, but she has some difficulties. Nancy's root cause is also in the emotional level. It's due to emotional suppression or feeling stuck with this background feeling of fear in the system. And due to not a life challenge specifically that she's facing right now, there are so many different reasons on the emotional level, but because of a past emotional hurt or trauma in her specific case. So as we have seen while observing the root causes, there are a lot of different details, and we could have here 100 different scenarios just on the emotional level, on the mental level, or on the physical level. So there is a lot of variety if we are willing to look for it. There is a lot of detailed information that can really help us to gain clarity. Of course, we did not forget our friend Susan. You remember we mentioned her at the beginning of the video. She has a very unhealthy lifestyle and it's trying for many years to change it, but without really any sustainable success. And there is Cindy, our last friend for today. And she has the same problem as Susan. Actually, both of them have a very unhealthy lifestyle and they have exactly the same symptoms as our three previous friends, with the main difference that they have a very poor diet and an unhealthy lifestyle. Cindy is eating in an unhealthy way virtually all her life. She just never found it or saw it as a problem. She never had any symptoms, she was feeling good. But now in the last few years, some symptoms start to creep in. And one of her closest friends had a health scare, so she decided to start to change things and hopefully feel better. The main problem is that she has no clue how to do so. She just wants to live in a healthier way, but feels completely lost how to approach and create significant changes. On the other side, you know Susan, she's really familiar with all the tips and necessary things that you have to do for a healthy lifestyle. It's extremely clear to her all the steps that she should be doing. She tried to do them multiple times, and yet she always slides back to the old habits. So here, let's just go directly to the root causes and see how we can help them. The interesting aspect here is that appears very obvious that the problem is on the physical level, right? They just have to change their lifestyle because their symptoms are lifestyle related. They scroll until late at night on their phone, their sleep schedule it's all over the place, they eat at night, they mainly eat hyper-processed food, a lot of white sugar, fizzy drinks, not enough water, etc. The list goes on. So the answer would be pretty straightforward. It's very much focused on the physical level. They just need to change their lifestyle. And as we realistically see, there it seems to be much more going on. So let's see their root causes. In Cindy's case, after the analysis, we find out that emotionally and mentally she's doing really well. Nothing is there that needs to be addressed. Basically, she just lacks education on how to implement healthy changes. So with proper guidance and a clear plan, she's very likely to succeed. And even in the case after she changes her lifestyle, if she still has some residual physical symptoms, we can help her. For example, of course, we have to analyze what is going on in that specific time, but we have a lot of tools on our disposal. For example, we can give her a remedy to purify her liver or to improve her digestive strength, etc. And then we have Susan, where the situation is a little bit more complex. After a thorough conversation with her and analysis, we find out that her problem is actually on the emotional level. She has a suppressed feeling of being unlovable, basically undesirable and weak, which stems from her childhood experiences. And though she suppresses it and minimizes it, this pain for years, it's still affecting her behavior and her life choices. So she eats as a coping mechanism to ease this inner tension and pain. Here we are. Let's summarize what we have learned today. We met 5 people that all have the same problem, and yet after we look closer, we saw that there is actually a lot of variety and different challenges and issues that are going on that are generating these problems. So how we went about it, we used 3 main aspects that we use in homeopathy to analyze the case, and those are the interconnectedness aspect. So we were viewing symptoms as part of the whole person, right? The physical, emotional, and mental levels all have an interconnected interplay because the root cause can be on any of these levels and manifest in any other level. And then we used individualization, basically recognizing that each person is unique. And that even though on the surface it appears that they have similar symptoms, they may have very unique causes. As we have seen, most of their symptoms that on the first glance appear exactly the same, after we look closer, for example, just the fatigue, for every one of the ladies manifested at a different time, in a different way, etc. Also for the headaches, they manifest in different ways, and virtually all the other symptoms as well. They are all carrying a lot of information. The question is only if we know how to read this information. And the third and last aspect that we have been mentioning a lot today, and that it's obviously the root cause. So we were identifying what cannot be seen on the first glance, but actually it's lurking beneath the surface. For example, we recognize that saying that something is because of stress, it's simply not enough. We need to look closer. Saying that it's only stress, it's too general. We have to define what it's stressing us, why it's stressing us, in which way it's stressing us, on which level it's the stress, it's physical, emotional, mental. We need to define the problem with precision. Only in this way we will be able to solve it. By now maybe you already know one of my favorite phrases, a problem well stated, it's a problem half solved. So next time, if you or somebody that you love, of course, hopefully not, suffers from some persistent health issues, try to ask yourself, like, what lurks behind the surface? What I cannot see that it's below what we can see on the first glance. And even though at that moment you may not get to the right answer, but will definitely bring you closer to true healing. So thanks for coming on this journey with me today. Of course, if you have any questions, you can send them to me. If you want to know how homeopathy can help you, you can watch the next videos. And until the next time, remember, take care and stay curious.